Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within special operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show in a Thursday after dinner edition. I know many of you are watching the NFL draft now, but those of you who took the time to hang out with us, we thank you, and thank you always for hanging out with us. This is going to be a good one tonight. Before we get started, we have to pay homage to yet another deputy, Deputy Sheriff Jesse Perez, Dawson County Sheriff's Office, Texas. End of watch, April 22nd. 2025. Keep his friends, family, and peers in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough time. Tonight we have a good one. She's transforms fledgling organizations into high-performing businesses as a fractional COO and HR consultant. Drawing from 18 years of experience across 30 countries, she helps companies scale operations, build inclusive cultures, and develop leadership teams that drive growth. Her practical insights on operational excellence and team building make her an engaging guest for audience, and that's why she's here tonight. So without further ado, let's welcome Tonya Roberts all the way from the East Coast to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Tonya.
Hi, happy
Hi,
to be here.
great to have you here. We
Thank
were
you.
having a good talk before the show, and you traveled, hit a lot of bases that I was at, and with your dad, and thank him for his service, and
Mhm.
thank you for being a good military brat like my daughter, and doing the good things, watching football with him on Sundays. That was an
Yeah.
awesome little tidbit you gave me there. I never got to use that excuse, but it was awesome. Latanya, I just gave a 2 sentence preview of you for the Misfit Nation. I would love for you to share a little more about you from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Yeah. Actually, I got into consulting when my dad was when he retired from the military, and we actually were in college at the same time. He was finishing up my bachelor's when I was getting mine, and he graduated 2 years before I did. And we were in the DC area, and he went to work for a company called Booz Allen Hamilton and started consulting. And I knew nothing about consulting. I grew up on military bases and thought I was probably either going to go work overseas or join the government, right? And but what I did know was that I love to solve problems and I like to help people. And one day he got one of his colleagues to bring me in for an informational interview, and then that started my world in consulting. So I was doing strategic planning, process improvement, org transformation, and working for the federal government, mostly Department of Defense. And while I was never able to join the military, this was my way to give back. And while I was there, I realized that going through all these organizational transformations, the people were not being taken care of. And I wanted to make sure that they understood how the changes impacted them, understand how their jobs were changing, and really set them up for success. So while the organizations and agencies were going through these major organizational redesigns or process changes or IT changes, the people were like, well, what about me? And so I stepped up and started focusing on them, doing leadership development and training and communications. And fast forward almost 20 years later, the pandemic hit, and I was like, I think I want to do this on my own.
Right.
And so, in consulting, teamwork is the name of the game. And so I actually partnered with two other ladies and we went to market together. And within a year, we built a $1 million company. And then I walked away from big corporate, and that started my journey in entrepreneurship. And I became the COO of that company, just bringing together my background. And now I provide fractional COO services for other small consulting companies.
Outstanding. Any regrets in leaving the big corporate world?
No,
I can see
none
the
at
smile on
all.
your face as soon as you said it. But yes.
No, every now and then I think I want to go back, and then I'm reminded of the creativity and the freedom that I have, and the ability to work on what I like to do. And not that I can't find that in corporate. It's a little bit harder for me to come by.
Right.
So, yeah,
It's a little more, I guess, at ease when you can work from on your time, from wherever you want to work, really. And
absolutely.
you can go to them or do like we're doing and talk to them this way. So it's a
Mhm.
lot more freedom for you. And I think I can just watching you smile when you said I left corporate and that smile came on your face. I think she was very happy with that decision.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Leaving corporate, while that was truly a faith walk, I learned a lot about myself. I'm still learning about myself and realizing how much of a risk taker I am because entrepreneurship is not easy, but I'm still here and I'm still smiling, so I must be doing something right.
Definitely. And it's not for those who don't have a thick skin entrepreneurism
Hmm.
or I guess a hard head to keep pushing forward when things go bad. So you got to keep pushing.
Very hard head.
What's a couple lessons you learned in your first couple of years now as a entrepreneur, or solopreneur, really, or three of you together? But what's the few things you've learned along the way now that have really helped you to move forward as you have?
Maintain relationships. Uh, th- you're you never know who's going to connect you to your next opportunity, and when things are slow, it's those relationships that will keep you afloat. Um, it's so funny, and I was telling someone earlier today, I was like, when you work for a corporate or you work for a consulting company, we always service our clients better than we service ourselves. And part of that is documenting your processes. I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. I did process improvement for several years. I know to document the processes. And when I was ready to grow my team, I was like, oh, everything is in my head. So I had to go back and document and record. So that's a big one. And then also just keep going when you have those moments of confusion. It's because you're not taking enough action, and know that that next step unlocks something that will take you to the next step that you need to take.
As you approach the smaller businesses, or I guess the newer businesses, what's kind of the thing that the hurdle that is hardest for them to get over before you get there, and then how do you help them get over that hurdle?
One of the big ones is control issues and micromanaging, or are not being willing to delegate, because they built this baby, they're so invested, physically, monetary, like everything is in this business. And now you're saying, if you want to grow your business because you've built this amazing brand, you have to give up some of the things that you've done. Right. So it's a bit of a mindset shift, and letting them know, like, it's okay to train someone else to take over the work. You still can be involved with your clients. But there's just certain things, as you go from owner operator to CEO, you just have to let go of some things, or you just stay where you are.
Stay on that little treadmill going in circles like
That's
a
right.
gerbil. Yeah, you stay there,
And
and
that's
it's
the choice.
yeah.
That's the choice you can make. But if you want to grow, you've got to let go of a few things.
And do you see people who ask you to come in? Do they fight back a little bit with the processes you're showing them, or do they come in with open arms? Please help me, and we're going to listen to everything you're telling us.
It's a little bit of both, because if especially the tech stuff, right? So if I'm saying you need to get your systems together, you need to have a customer relationship management tool. You need to have a way to stay connected to your clients, and you're used to building out your projects and managing your clients on Google Sheets. And I'm saying, let's institute some type of Go High Level, or HubSpot, or something where you can have everything in this one system. I love systems that are kind of all in one, right? So HubSpot, High Level, Zoho, those are great systems to work with, because they have your CRM. You can do your contracts, you can do your email and your social media, lead pages, so much more. And so I try to get people to embrace technology, right? And get out of the normal pen and paper, or let's put everything in Google Sheets or Excel and manage it that way, because it's slower and it's taking away some of your time. So that's one of the things that I get a little bit of pushback on, and like, let's automate, let's streamline things here.
I mean, you said Google Sheets, and I know a lot of people use those. Have you still run into people with sticky notes everywhere?
Yeah, and you know what? I was one of them. I love writing things down. I have to train myself too. Like, if you look at my desk right now, Rich, there are 4 notebooks sitting next to me, and lots of sticky notes, right? Because I'm a writer. I like to write things out, but I have to train myself to put it in a Google Doc,
Right.
or put it in the notes on my phone, so it's always accessible, right? So I am not without flaws. I understand it, because my clients are me, right?
It's
So
the mirror.
yeah, it's the mirror. I'm just a few steps ahead of you. That's all.
And sometimes we all need that little push to get out of our own way. And if you're just relying on those sticky notes and not putting into that Google Doc or to a Word document, you're never going to go back to it. You're going to lose it on that paper, and or that
Right,
paper's going to blow away somewhere. The
right.
sticky stuff doesn't stay there forever.
And you lose an important note a few times, that thing that could have landed your next project. it just takes 1 or 2 times. You're like, you know what? I probably should have a system in place or put this online in the cloud. So I always have it. You learn.
And you can make pictures with the sticky notes on your wall and then say,
Yeah.
that's what I could have been doing.
Yep, I could have did that. I'm my whiteboard. Yes.
See the what? Yeah, so you have everything, obviously. I see the whiteboard behind you, yes.
Yeah, there's another one in front of me, an even bigger one I can write on.
Draw pictures.
Yeah. Get the creative juices flowing.
Outstanding. We got a question from the audience already. At Hector5 says, what's the biggest operational mistake small businesses make when scaling, and how can they fix it? Thanks, Hector5.
Oh, wow, Hector, thank you for that question. One thing that I see people making is scaling before they really have nailed down what that process is, right? So scaling isn't the first step or even the second step. The first step is really simplifying your business and then secondly, it's getting it to a point where it's sustainable. And that sustainable means you and your team can actually sustain operations without burning out. You've documented your processes, you've gone back and refined them, you've eliminated the waste, eliminated the fluff, and made sure that you're able to create consistent results. And then once you get to that point, you can scale.
When you're saying scale, can you explain what scaling is
Mhm.
to the Misfit Nation?
Sure. So when I'm thinking about scaling, I'm talking about being able to offer more services, being able to service more clients, grow your team, grow your business. Think of it as going from a one person or a very small team of people that perform to going to some cases you have 3 people in a team and then now you're growing to 10 and all of a sudden you've won a big contract and you need 50 people. Your business looks very different in a number of ways, right? So there's cultural changes, there's process changes, there may be technology changes. You have to all of a sudden hire more people. Now you fall into different situations with the laws, depending on if you are bringing on contractors or W-2 employees, right? So basically, it's how your business grows.
Outstanding. And just yesterday, I was sitting in the parent pickup line waiting for my granddaughter, and
Mhm.
I was writing my business plan, and it came up with the positions you're supposed to have for a podcast, and I was like, I'm way behind this power curve. I started the business 2 years ago now, and it's just been
Uh,
me. It's been me, and then I have 2 co-hosts on Tuesday night. So
mhm.
it's scaling it that way to build it from where I was, where I am, to where I need to be. It'd
Mhm.
be probably a 7-person hire to get there. But I know until I get the capital, I can't do that and have to work my way to that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
there's a lot
understood that
involved when
portion.
people say, "I'm ready to scale." I'm like, "Do you really understand what that means? Are you ready for that?"
Right. Is that wall ready to jump over it? Are you ready to jump
Mhm.
over that wall at this time? And it's a big wall when it says there's that many people you're supposed to have, and I've been wearing all those hats. So,
Yeah. That would be the second thing is getting rid of those hats, right? Which goes
right.
into the control issues of, "Oh my gosh, I am everything on this team," and what do you let go of?
And when?
And when, yeah.
When do you pull the reins in, or where do you let the reins go to let someone else take that problem and work that problem, and then you just trust in them to not kill your dream, I guess, or kill your vision?
Exactly, and know that they are not going to do it just how you do it, right? And you have to be okay with that and figure out how to work within that.
Definitely, there's no two of us are the same. No
Right.
matter what SOP or what operation procedures you have in your business, for you,
Mhm.
when employee A and employee B come in, they're two different people,
That's
and
right,
they're
that's
gonna look at
right.
that and read it a different way and say, "I'm gonna do it this way. 'Cause I'm comfortable with this way.
Mhm.
Just got to get here together." So,
Yes, exactly. It's like communications, right? We can all have the same goal, but how we get there, how we communicate is going to be different. How we receive information is going to be different. And it's the same thing. How you interpret a process, it's going to be different. We all have different gifts, personality styles, etc. But you, as a team, you lean on each other's gifts and figure out how do we best work together. If you're the details person, maybe you need to work with the big picture visionary person, right, to have something come together.
right. And we got another question from the audience here,
Mhm.
uh, from Isle of True. Can you explain how a fractional COO helps founders reclaim their time and sanity.
Oh,
That's a good one.
yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you what I do as a fractional COO. And I will say one of my superpowers is the fact that I can go very big picture, strategy, visionary type, but then I can also break it down into details. And so as a fractional COO, what I do is I work with my big visionary CEOs, think of the ideas people that don't care about all the details, right? Or don't have time to do all the details or be involved in the day-to-day operations. And what I do for them is I say, well, what are your goals? We do an annual planning process and then quarterly business reviews and then weekly check-ins to make sure that we're on track. And I want to understand, well, where do you want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now as your business grows? And then I am going to give them different ways to get there. I'm going to make sure that their team understands, bought into the vision, but then understands where they fit into that vision. What is their role? What is their responsibility? What is the impact that they're making in order to achieve your goal? I'm going to make sure that they have their processes, their infrastructure set up. They are set up for success. So just like when I was working in corporate and I was doing these major org transformations and I noticed the people were missing in this, that people factor, I go into organizations and I make sure that the people are taken care of and I allow the CEO to stay in their zone of genius and also have a life outside of their business, right? Because when they know that they have the operation stuff taken care of, that gives them the freedom to say, you know what, I can go focus on what I love to do. They can stay in love with their business. If they like sales and going out there and meeting people, they have time to do that because they know their fractional COO is going to make sure the contracts are taken care of, the people are hired, the pricing strategy is there, the communications are going, the onboarding is happening with their clients. And we just take a lot of that operational stuff off of the CEO so they can continue to run the business.
Nice. And I have a former commander here. He owns 3 tropical smoothie cafes and runs a real estate business here.
Mhm,
And I remember when he had just the one tropical smoothie cafe, he was in there all the time, all the
mhm,
time. And then when he bounced and he opened one on Fort Campbell, he opened one across town. And now
mhm.
you never see him in him because he has hired the right people and he has the right
Right.
team of teams in each place. You might see him once in a while go in there just to get a smoothie and he'll just hit and run. And that's the only
Right.
time to see him. So I've seen this work for him and has he scaled to 3 franchises and plus his real estate empire do all this. He has learned this probably from coaches like you telling him along the way, stop trying to do everything yourself and pulling your hair out and
Mhm.
lean forward with your family and maybe let others take the burden. And it's working.
It works.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. I love working. One of the biggest compliments that I get from my clients is, wow, I have time to actually have life, right? I can focus on what I love to do. I still love my business, right? Even
Right.
when it gets tough, I can go just because I know, well, Tanya, you're going to make sure the business is taken care of. Or I can take this risk or take on this special project that I really want to do because I know you're going to take care of everyday operations and everything else is handled.
Now, have you worked with any, I guess, established businesses that have, say, 10 to 20 employees already and maybe taught them some leadership and building maybe a people centric culture to get them into a better place?
Absolutely. Most of my career, I've worked with large companies, right? 10 or thousands of people in there and working with their C-suite team. One of the things that I do, not just as a fractional COO, but just in general, I am a coach. I am certified as a coach. So I am working with the senior leadership team and the C-suite to make sure that they are creating a culture where people can actually thrive and reminding them that the way that things were done in previous years or how it was when they entered the business world, it's very different now, right? Not just from the fact that we have multiple generations in the workplace, but the expectations are very different. And then you had this pandemic and people like myself decided, hey, my priorities have changed and what I used to accept before is no longer acceptable. And wherever I work, it should be mutually beneficial if you can help it, especially if you've been in the business world or you've been working for a long time. You're like, your values change a little bit, right? And so I work with leaders to navigate those differences, learn how to be vulnerable, because there's also an expectation that leaders show up as people and not just this person that's on this pedestal. And then how to really understand and work with their people and not just stay in that boss role, but to just be that servant leader and make sure that their team is taken care of.
I like that you said that there's multiple generations now in the workplace, and as we are living longer and
Hmm.
people can't retire at 62 like the old model was, they have
Right.
to stay in the business place a lot longer. Have you seen any pushback in businesses when they have people in their upper 60s down to the 20s all working in the same spot?
Absolutely. Right. You
I have
know,
to ask the questions.
it's funny. So I'm living this, right? I have parents that are older, 60s, and one is still working, one's retired, and then I have a daughter that's 20. And how they think about, or how all of us think about business, right? I'm in the middle. How all of us think about business is very different. I mean, I remember when I first started working almost 20 years ago, you hear this term butts and seats, right? They just want to see people. And now we live in a world where people are very remote. And some people don't know how to understand. They're like, I can't see you. I can't see you doing the work.
Right.
I'm more productive when I'm at home in my quiet space with no distractions, right? And then you have younger generations that are very okay with saying, this doesn't work for me. And they're willing to walk away.
Yep.
No plan. No, no backup. No, I have another job. This doesn't feel good. And I realized this 2 hours into orientation on the first day. So I quit.
Wow.
Right. And that happens. And you're like, oh my gosh, you did what? And navigating those different generational norms and what you look for in the workplace is so different between different generations. Uh, Businesses have to be able to be adaptable and meet the needs of many people in the workforce. And so a lot of companies are struggling with that, or even the pushback of, hey, I feel like I should have a voice and a vote in the decisions you make in the organization. And then you have us more seasoned people who are like, what do you, baby, you haven't earned a voice or a vote. What are you talking about?
Vote on
So,
the creamer.
right. Like, what do you mean? You haven't lived enough life to tell me, yeah, this is gonna work. So yeah, we deal with that. And so I work with leaders to kind of navigate those new territories and do it in a way where you're not condescending or pulling your hair out and learning to roll with it.
So a lot of times in those situations that older person is being led by someone that's in their late 20s, early 30s. And that in most ideas, people say that can't work, but that might be the best situation.
It can be. And actually, and I was one of those people in my 30s, and I was leading team members that were more seasoned than I am. Right. And
Right.
I think the way that I navigated that was, one, I honor and respect my elders and appreciate the experiences that they have, and never talk down, be patient and teach. And it goes back to, I just want to make sure that people are set up for success. And it's not about age. I literally have gone into organizations. I've done leadership development for several years, and I look a lot younger than I, than I actually am. And so I've always had to walk in and say, hey, I know I look like I am your child right now, and I'm getting ready to teach you about leadership. But I promise you, I am much older than you think I am. And here is why you should listen, right? And so you have to kind of demonstrate and earn your respect a lot earlier, because it's not just given to you, especially when you are younger and you're in a leadership position.
In the military, we learn that when we get the young lieutenant right out of West Point or right out of college, they're 22 years old, and
Hmm.
most of their non-commissioned officers are late 20s, 30s, up to their 40s, and they're supposed to listen to this young kid who has school knowledge and is being told what to do by the colonel or whatever, and give them all that respect. And sometimes it doesn't work out well the first couple weeks, and you have to let them feel their way and learn their oats. And
Hmm.
that's how I learned to get that gap and learn to mind the gap, I guess, and train them to be the better person and lead us the way they're supposed to, which was our job as NCOs. And even though it's fun to do all the other things to them, you still have to let them lead so they can be the leaders of the future.
Absolutely. And even if you are not in this leadership role, you can still manage up.
Right.
Right. And you probably did that, right? You didn't directly say this is how you need to do things, but you probably role modeled or lightly suggested different, hey, have you tried this?
Very lightly, yes.
Sorry, man. You may want to do this. This works.
This may be a better approach.
Simple reminders. Yes.
Before I lock you in the office again. All right, sorry. Oh, we have another question from the audience from @leavenbread65. How do you approach building leadership teams that reflect inclusion and high performance? Thanks, Leavenbread.
Yeah. You can do some team building experiences. An easy one, honestly, is personality assessments, right? Because with the personality assessment, you learn who you are, the way that they're set up, no matter what model you're doing, you learn about you first, right? And you have those aha moments. And then when you're in the class or the training or what have you, you break down what each of the styles are. You have the aha moments. You build in. I love to crack jokes when I'm training. So we're going to have a good time. I am a ball of energy in training. And then we are going to do some things where we're doing some role playing and we are having a lot of aha moments of, oh, this is why we don't get along because you think very differently than me, right? And then we're going to say, okay, now how do we take these two different thought processes and figure out how do we merge them together to create something beautiful, right? So I love personality assessments for that, right? We go in and then we go out. The other thing that I like to do is to create moments of connection and realize that even though on the surface we may look differently, but we actually have a lot more in common than you think, right? So doing different exercises where you can figure out, hey, well, one thing that people used to, bingo, go find someone that has a dog, go find someone that has multiple children or has lived over here, right? Those are easy ways to create moments of commonality and connection with people, right? So you start to bridge that gap. And then you start to think about, okay, well, how can we get on a project that utilizes our different skill sets? And but you need the different skill sets in order to solve a problem, right? And you do something silly like you're stuck on an island, an isolated island, and you need to go figure out what skill somebody has that could help you get off this island, right? And you find out some crazy stuff. You know, like I was an Eagle Scout, I know how to tie all these crazy knots, or I boat and whatever. You find out some great things and you laugh and you have a good time and you find out some good things about your team members. And you start to realize that all those things that make us different are those things that build community and are the reason why we are a great team. Right. And then you bring it back to work and you give them an actual problem to solve that is work related. So I like to, before I do a training with an organization, I like to have a design session where I am asking them, give me the dirt. Tell me the skeletons in the closet. What is the problem that is keeping you up at night that you cannot figure out how to solve, but it needs to be addressed yesterday?
Right.
And then I'm going to build exercise around that. And we're going to talk it out in a safe space with a neutral party. And we're going to walk away feeling like a team, right? We understand, yes, we have differences, but that's great. We have a lot in common as well. And we understand our collective excellence as a group.
Definitely. And I think a lot of those exercises could work in communities and get people on a block to sit and talk with each other and do those same games and see how much they actually have in common and what they all really want to make that community better. And maybe if they work together, it would actually work.
Right. Absolutely. And there's so much stuff out in the world that is telling us we're so different and they're weaponizing our differences. But when you really break it apart, we have a lot more in common than that is different. And we just need to be able to realize that and know that a lot of times we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? You go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We want community, we want love, we want shelter, we want food, all those things. We all have the same basic needs.
Right.
We just are in different packages.
We just hear different noises.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just getting away from that noise and having a cup of a coffee, Coke, whatever you drink, and talking and making it work.
Right. Exactly.
In the business world, sometimes that's locking people in an office and, hey, figure it out, and we'll be back later.
And sometimes you need to do that too. Right? Like, I just need to get this out. And now I can move on. And we can go have a good smile.
And then you can go get to the meat and potatoes of the training at that point.
Yeah.
Once you get all that out of there, all that air, I'm here for you.
Right.
Another question just popped in. This is from @ChrissyYoung4. What are 3 actionable steps businesses can take today to improve their culture? Good question, Chrissy Young.
Yeah. One thing I hear all the time is we don't know what's going on. We don't understand how they're making these decisions and not thinking about the impact of us. So transparency.
Yeah.
Number 1. Whether you as a leader know that there is a big change coming and you haven't figured it all out, tell the people, like, we know there's a problem. We don't have all the answers right now, but this is what we think it is. Sometimes you need to put together a small task force or a little committee to just really understand, hey, if we make this decision or we make this change, how does it impact you all? What are we not thinking of? And then how often do y'all want to communicate? And remember that people receive information or communicate in different ways. So it can't just be one way. Talk about it in the all hands, talk about it in one-on-ones, create a specific project site that's around the change and has all the announcements, send it out in an email, different ways to communicate. So transparency, number 1. The other thing is to be vulnerable, right? And that's one of those things that nobody's perfect and it's okay. So going back to, I don't have all the answers. I want to hear from you. Demonstrate the characteristics, the good that you want to have. If you have a value statement, live your values and honor those values. When someone is not performing up to those values, there has to be consequences for it. There can't be any special treatment. And then the last one I would say is truly create an inclusive environment where people feel psychologically safe to share and be okay with not having the right answer. And there is no fear of retaliation, right? If you are in a brainstorming session, there is no wrong thing. You're just throwing out ideas and something's going to stick and some things aren't going to stick. And that's okay too. That's how innovation happens, right? We're going to throw out a bunch of ideas and most of it's going to be wrong and it's not going to work, but something is. And you only get that way when people feel psychologically safe to be able to speak up or challenge the status quo.
Right. And I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier about the sticky notes and the whiteboards. And if you don't throw ideas out there and have that group discussion and let everyone be a part of it, you're going to miss some of those good ideas that are in that room just because you don't want to hear them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lesson a lot of young leaders need to learn. And even seasoned leaders, like you were saying, with the multi-generational environment, you got people that are leading that have been leading the same way their whole time and never pivoted, never learned to pivot with society or pivot with technology. And it's hard for them to face that reality that the world has changed and they have not.
Exactly. Or just pivot to meet the moment.
Right.
There's so many different leadership styles out there. You can't do one thing all the time. It's not going to work. Sometimes you have to grab the bull by the horns and you have to be like, this is how it is. I don't have time for your input. We're doing this. And if it fails, it's on me. I own that.
Right.
And then there's other times when you are able to bring in and have a more collaborative feel where you're taking in input from other people before you make your decision. Right. So different moments require different leadership styles.
As well as different people. You can't treat each person the same. Like you said earlier, people learn differently or take in information differently.
Absolutely.
No two people will accept that same knife hand the same way. And you can get a lot of trouble with one and none with the other. So you got to be very careful how you train and teach, lead, mentor other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you had to correct that in any leaders when you went to talk to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people you need to get to know your people. Stop taking this team mentality into individual experiences, right? Do you really understand when someone is having a bad day? Do you know your team members' gifts? Do you know the areas where they struggle? Do you know how to properly communicate to this person when you need to course correct? How are you rewarding their excellence? Not everybody wants to be rewarded in front of the group. Some people are like, hey, just pull me aside and say, hey, you did a good job. Thank you. Some people want the monetary reward, and some people are like, just give me the exposure, the experience. Let me work on this type of project. Right. So know people at the individual level and then figure out what you can do at the collective level as well, and know when to turn it on or off.
And that way you know what human capital you actually have too. Because if you have a team that's really stacked and they all have different talents, you need to know what capital each one brings to the party.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss Army knife, right?
Yes.
What tool are you pulling out? Which piece of it are you pulling out, right? Sometimes I need that person they're just gonna follow behind and do whatever I say do. They're not gonna make the emotional decision. They're like, you said do this, I'm gonna do that. And then you need the other person that's like, well, just high level, tell me what you want. And then I'm gonna figure it out and I'll come back and let you know when it's done. Right. So you just need different people, but you need to understand who you have on your team, who's your A players, who's your B players, because not everyone is an A player. And you don't want, in some cases, a bunch of A players on there, right? Because there's a lot that comes with that too.
Yes.
Everybody needs doers. Where's my doers and where's my leaders?
Where's my tinkerers? Where's my yellers? There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, with the alphas, that's when you have to have that locked room occasion to let them all bang their heads a little bit and
battle it out and just don't hurt each other too.
Yeah, we have liability for that. It's not a good idea. But that'll weed out some of the alphas and turn them into bravos too. So you'll have different levels at that point. But don't do it on your training, because then that's on your liability.
Your limits now.
Another question just popped in from nowhere but here, I guess. What lessons have you learned from working in 30 plus countries that leaders everywhere should hear?
You know what? We are very entitled here in the US, and we think that everyone has our problems.
Yes.
And they don't. They do not. What's important to them is different than what's important to us. When we talk about diversity or just DEI in general, here in the US, it's race. Like that's our big fight. It's race, it's sexism, it's ageism, right? Outside the US, what we run into is a lot of socioeconomic status issues, areas where people are in power. Even the word, I remember working on a project, and a lot of the team members were over in Africa. And we kept saying, the US based team kept saying, we're a big family. We love to throw that word out here. We're a big work family. And they were like, y'all don't understand family. You all are dysfunctional, right? And because in their cultures, family is so important, right? Even if someone in the family is doing something wrong, you handle it in the family. You don't bring it to the outside world. So they would never allow an outsider come in and course correct or embarrass someone who's within the family. And they really take care of everyone, right? You live in households where you have multiple generations of family members. And so the way that we think about family here in the US is very loose. And it's very different, whether Latin America, Africa, wherever, it is very different. And so using words, make sure you understand the context of that word in that country. The other thing that I would say is understanding the cultural norms. You have some cultures that are very hierarchical, right? And because you are the most senior person in the room, you automatically have that respect, and no one's going to challenge you. So their yes may not really be a yes. It's a yes because that's what is socially expected here. And you have to be able to understand when a yes is a yes, or it's a yes because you said so, and I'm just going to go with it, but I really don't agree. So those are some of the lessons learned. And then people are so dedicated to the mission. So most of my international experience outside of working on Department of Defense, where you have your OCOMNIS projects, it was truly those ones where I am dealing with the people that are from the other countries, working with the international nonprofit organizations, and really getting down into people that were all about the mission and helping, no matter what that meant to them personally. They made a lot of sacrifices because they had a lot of people depending on them.
Definitely. I think a big lesson that my daughter learned is when we lived in Korea for 2 years, from 2008 2010. I always told her when I went overseas, came back, I said, "You don't know how good you got it. You don't know how good you got it." We got there, and she can see the kids her age in Korea when it's still dark out in the morning, going to the train station, getting on the train, eating their little bowl of rice on the train, going to school, then going to whatever extracurricular activity after school, and then on the bus or train after, just to go do the whole same thing again. They did that all day, every day. I said, "Do you have a hard life?" And she said, "Maybe not." And then she volunteered at one of their soup kitchens and really came together to learn that we are culturally spoiled in the United States compared to everywhere else in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have it pretty good here, even today.
Yes.
We have it pretty good. I lived in Germany back in the 80s, and I was little then, and I had German nannies, and so I got a chance to experience different cultures at an early age, and I'm so thankful for that experience because I really appreciated what I had, even when it was little.
Yeah.
Even when it wasn't a lot, I still appreciated everything that I had because I got to see what others did not have, and how happy they were.
Right. That part. Yes.
That always stuck to me. You have next to nothing, but you're so happy and you live such a simple life, and we're over here complaining, "Oh my gosh, I left my phone at home. My world is falling apart."
I'm done. I'm
Right?
done.
You're like, "Phone? I don't even have internet."
What is this phone you speak of?
Water. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And even when they don't have a lot, they'll still offer you something
Yeah. They will give
without
their
even thinking about it.
last.
Yeah. So that's something we need to adopt a little more here and shake our brothers and sisters' hands that need help and give them a hand up, not a hand out, a hand up, and
Yes.
and point them in the right direction. I think,
And we all need that sometimes.
yeah,
We all
or
need that hand up.
or a kick in the butt to get you going too. It's either
Mhm.
or. Both of them work in different ways.
That's right.
That's right. So, so Tanya, we've been chatting pretty good here. Learned a lot of stuff from you. What's the best way for anyone to get in contact with you to maybe scale their business or maybe pick your brain a little more like I have tonight?
Yeah. Go to my website. It is harmonyconsultinggroup.org. So ORG. And you will see all the links to my socials, how to schedule a consult with me, or just shoot me an email. And that's
Awesome.
harmonyconsultinggroup.org. There you go.
It's going across the bottom of the screen now for those of you watching it on video. Those of you who are going to listen to this on audio later, it will be in the show notes with all of LaTanya's links, including her LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So, LaTanya, one thing we always ask our guests before we release them for the evening is what's 3 things that Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better humans?
Oh, let go of your preconceived notions that you had of something and just go into it with an open mind and open heart. When you start to get emotionally charged in a situation, pause and ask yourself, is this the truth? Or is this a story that I'm making up? And lastly, and it's what I used to tell my children when they were in elementary school, go make a friend today. when you
Nice.
see someone that is by themselves or see someone that, is a little lonely, go make a friend. Find out
Nice.
about them.
I'm typing all this into the chat as we speak. There we go. It's in there. Well, Tonya, this has been awesome chatting with you, and I hope you have a great rest of tonight and the rest of your week and whatever your plans are for the summer, because it's going to be hot here in a matter of days in our part of the country. Of course, we'll be blazing hot for the rest of the year. You stay cool like you are on the show, and keep helping people be the best versions of themselves.
Thank you, Rich. This has been such a good conversation. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you, and we'll check you out later.
All
Have
right.
a good night, Misfit Nation.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
MisFit Nation.